What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy, Prison Tales with Dave. Guys, first and foremost, I want to say I hope that everybody out there is in the best of health and best of spirits. Not just yourselves, but your family as well. And your loved ones. Guys, I want to say thank you to everybody. My last video, Prison Visits, has already almost hit 1,000 views. It's at about, I think, 800, almost 900 views right now. Guys, much love for that. Thank you so much for that. And, like I say all the time, please smash on those like and subscribe buttons, guys. It really, really helps this channel grow. And that's all because of you guys. Now, let me begin with today's video. Today's video is about heroin.
We'll take Roger. Wine lover, right here. Also a heroin lover, in case anyone wants to schedule a poppy tour. Huge heroin fan. Don't use it, just like being around it. Study it. Appreciate it. Use it sometimes. Ah, here we go.
That's right. Guys, this episode is about heroin. It's actually about drugs, but mostly about heroin. And it's my story on how I got started using heroin. And when I got started using heroin. So, let me take you on this quick trip really quick. I'm trying to make this video fast and to the point, guys. Alright. At the age of 13, I started smoking weed. I started drinking beer. And then I was introduced to cocaine. And I was introduced to meth. So that happened at the age of 13. Now, a year later, I was introduced to heroin by one of my homeboys. He actually was the one using it. But my curiosity was I was so curious about things, that even if it was bad for you, and I knew it, I was drawn to it. I still wanted to try it. So, I gave my homeboy some money and I said, here, man, I want to try some. So he gave me some. He gave me and my brother Hector, my older brother who passed away. I'm sad to say, passed away in 2003 of a heroin overdose. And that's how we got started. We started at the same time. He was about a year and 3 months older than me. So, that's how we got started with heroin. And like I said, I was 14 when I started heroin, but we didn't use syringes. We weren't doing that. We were just smoking it in aluminum foil. But a year later, by the time I was 15, I had already started using needles. So yes, I was shooting up at the age of 15. And that was back in 1996 is when I first tried that. There's two classes of people that try heroin. Either you use it and it makes you sick. It makes you terribly sick to where you're throwing up and it just doesn't sit well with you. Or you use it and you just love it. And I was the unfortunate ones that ended up loving it. And that was a problem. Years later, I used to joke around, I used to joke around to everybody. I used to tell them heroin was my first love. And, I really wasn't joking though. Everybody would get a kick out of it, but I was being serious because, understandably so, heroin was my first love. I just, I couldn't get enough. Now, I knew that if I continued using heroin, I knew what would happen. I would get locked up, even when I was going to juvenile hall. In juvenile hall, I used to be thinking to myself, I knew that if I continue to use heroin, it equals jails, institutions, or even death. I knew that. But I just didn't know how I was going to stop using. I had no idea. Why? Because I loved that feeling that heroin gave me so much that I just didn't know how. I couldn't even think about how the hell I was going to stop. It just, my mind couldn't grasp that at all. Me stopping. I had no way. For me, it was like climbing climbing a wall that was 50 feet high. You know, it was like, how the hell am I going to climb this wall with my bare hands? You know, it's just, it wasn't going to happen. So, the reasons why I got locked up, the reasons why I was going to juvenile hall, the reasons why I went to jail, you know, the reasons why I went to prison, the reasons why I was in the street, homeless at times, up until like 5 years ago, I was homeless, literally homeless, living on these streets, you know, because of drugs. Not only was I using heroin, I was also using meth. My later years, I was using meth and heroin together. Not together mixing them, but I would get a high off heroin and I would go down. A couple hours later, I would get a high on meth and go up. And then come back down with heroin and then back up. It was just a vicious cycle where I was just going up and down, up and down, up and down. And it just destroyed me. It really did. I had no ambition. I had no job. I had no money. I could remember literally being on the streets, walking around with $1, $2 in my pocket, you know, and just, I used to see people that I knew. I would run into people who I knew, and they had cars, they had jobs, you know, and I used to say to myself, I said, man, I can be having that too, but I just got to stop using drugs. You know, so I knew that. I was able to understand that, but I just couldn't put that into practice at all. You know, I tried. There was a lot of times where I tried, but it wasn't until this October will be 3 years. This October coming up will be 3 years that I finally said enough, you know, and I just finally stopped using drugs. I gave up the meth. I gave up the heroin. I started working. I went back to school. Got out of school. Started working again. I'm not working right now, but I was working. You know, these last 3 years. These last almost 3 years, 2.5 years. I've been staying busy. Working relationships with my daughters. You know, who were estranged from me for a long time because of my drug use. You know, they just used to say, "Fuck you, Dad. You're a loser." My oldest would call me David. You know, they wouldn't even call me Dad until just now, recently. So, you know, that's pretty much been my story with drugs. You know, I started at 14, like I said, with heroin. 15, I was already shooting it up. Plus, I've done every meth, cocaine, everything, you know, pretty much everything. But I gotta say that heroin is the one that took me for the ride, you know, it really took me on the ride. I'm on methadone right now, and I've been on methadone for almost 3 years now. I do plan on getting off, and that's gonna be another struggle. But hey, I'm prepared for it. I know I can do it, and I will be doing it. So that's my story in a nutshell, guys. I'm trying to keep this short and to the point. That's the reason why I did 4 prison terms, was because of heroin, drugs, stealing, stolen cars, burglaries, shoplift, all kind of possessions. You know, those are the things that I have in my record. They're all from heroin. Those 4 prison terms are from drugs, heroin, to be exact. My last one was meth, also. So, guys, it took me into the darkest places that I had ever been in my life. I never ever imagined that I would be literally sleeping on the sidewalk, you know, but the homeless people, you know, or in a tent. You know, it took me where I didn't want to go. And I thank God that I was able to finally stop using and finally start living. That's my story, guys. I hope you guys can support the channel by liking and subscribing. Everybody out there, I hope that you guys can stay healthy, stay sane, and stay safe. Not just yourself, but your loved ones as well. Thank you for tuning in. This is Prison Tales with Dave. Much love.